Hey, welcome to the Lawson Brothers podcast. I am Sam Lawson.
And I am James Lawson. What's up?
Yeah, we're so glad that you are here, listening wherever you are listening from, or watching wherever you're watching from. We're excited. We love doing this. It's a ton of fun. We actually know nothing about what we're doing, and one of our mottos is that
the only thing that we don't the only thing that we don't even know the
we
motto.
don't even know the motto.
Only thing that we know is that we don't know anything.
So we don't know anything.
Or if you're more of the serious type, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, baby.
That's what we're hoping happens.
That's what we're hoping happens. Yeah.
So, hey, if you found this helpful and encouraging in any way, we would love to hear from you. If you have questions that you want to ask Sam about his life.
Or James about his life.
Mostly Sam. Send them in. We want to hear from you. And as we've said before, one of the greatest things that you could do, if this has been encouraging, helpful, built your faith up in any way, like this, share it, review it, tell your friends about it. The goal's never been to just make a podcast to fill the airspace, but it's always been to, if we can help and encourage people, maybe brighten people's day a little bit, make your morning coffee taste a little bit better.
Yeah.
On the way to work.
We want to tell you that also a couple weeks ago we started actually filming and capturing what this actually looks like. So if you're more interested in watching it, you can find it on YouTube. That's just a little bit of information that Braden wants us to share with you. So let us know where you watch from.
Yep, you can watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
Listen wherever podcast can be heard. Sam, you've got a voice. No, that's the wrong phrase.
What?
You've got a face for radio, Sam. You've got a face for radio.
A face for radio?
Think about that. You'll get that later.
Oh man, that's dirty. That's dirty.
Sorry, my bad.
That's dirty.
My bad.
Ow, that one actually took me a minute. That was like an insult and also a riddle.
That's
and also a riddle.
That's probably one of those things Braden was referring to when he told me I should be nicer to you.
Dude, hey man, if you remember like 5 minutes ago, Braden told you to wipe your oily forehead.
He did. He did say that.
He did a great job with that, by the way, wiping it. It doesn't look as oily as it did.
Thank you. We've got a lot of forehead up there to
I hope.
Yes.
So this is funny to me. Somebody said when I first came down here, they said you have 7 years until you look like James's head, meaning you have 7 years until you lose like the majority of the top portion of your hair. And so I'm actually going to, like, over the next 7 years or so, Lord willing, I'll be here. I'm going to like style my hair differently over time.
Enjoy it, man.
Enjoy it until I hit the 30 mark.
I spent the majority of my life shaving my head.
Yes.
Only to hit like 30 years old and be like, man, I wish I had a little more hair on top.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say one time, when you get older, you don't have a hair loss problem. You have a hair distribution problem.
A hair distribution problem.
It all moves from the top of your head to like your feet.
That's
ew, dude. I'm not saying I got hairy feet. I'm just saying that's what somebody said.
You just said that. That's exactly what you just implied.
Man,
you remember?
Too much.
Yeah, that was disgusting. I just envisioned like Frodo.
I look like a hobbit. No,
Frodo,
I'm just kidding.
or Bilbo Baggins. And oh wow, so many rabbit trails.
I'm gonna start
could take place right now.
Flip-flops all the time.
Just stop the conversation right now. Flip flops and show off your hairy feet. You can put some gel.
Come to church on Sunday. You're gonna see me preach in flip flops. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. I'm just kidding.
Oh man.
Here's a funny story real fast. I do have a tendency. I have a tendency in the summer to not wear socks. Okay, and I don't.
Where's this going?
I'm gonna tell you, I don't wear flip flops. A lot. Like I wear flip flops to the beach, but I'll wear like loafers without socks.
You like the way the sand feels in your hairy feet?
Stop it. Or I wear. I have a pair of shoes called Hirachis that I love. That are like grown man sandals. I don't know. Like the youth call them my Jesus shoes, and I love them. They're great.
Yeah, your Air Bethlehems. That's a meme. I didn't come up with that.
Oh, you didn't? Oh,
no, I wish I did.
That was good. Yeah. Got those Air Nazareth ones,
yeah.
Anyway, I have a tendency to not wear socks, and there's a few guys. Sam Young he leads the parking lot team downtown, and he is a fellow no sock wearer. Shout out to Sam. But there's a guy in church. His name's Wayne. Wayne and his wife Sarah, phenomenal people. Wayne showed up one day at Joy Fellowship with a bag with a few pairs of socks in it for me, and they were like these Clemson Tiger socks. I wear them all the time. But he was like, here, man, I didn't know if you had any socks because you never wear them on Sundays.
He said, these will help your hairy feet out.
That's right. So anyway, shout out to Wayne Stanfield.
Let me tell you a funny story real quick.
All right, real fast.
And this could be like a topic of debate, kind of like the overarching versus overarching debate. Yeah. Okay, go with me. All right, for just a second.
When you say just a second, like 10 minutes later.
For a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
For a minute. Go with me. This last summer, I was at camp in Wilmington, North Carolina called Serve.
Okay.
With some of my best friends in the world, Sarah Knittel, Dustin Self, Caroline Gallman, Manuel Harrison, Jack Martin, several other people. We'll probably miss some people just then. But one day, I wore flip-flops, okay? I wore flip-flops.
Okay.
Now, as a man, this might just be a Sam thing. As Sam, I can only speak for myself. I had like eczema on my feet when I was growing up. Remember that?
Yeah,
and stuff. We're not going to talk about that too long.
Never.
We're not going to talk about that. I was self-conscious.
You wouldn't wear flip-flops.
I was self-conscious about my feet. I would wear socks at the swimming pool until I got in the water.
I remember.
Really would. Very self-conscious about it. But over time, I think my confidence, and also I think I grew out some of the eczema a little bit. But we don't talk about that. It's kind of gross. I've started like wearing some sandals, try to boost some self-esteem, and switch up the style game a little bit, show off the hairy feet, that kind of thing. And this last summer, my feet are really not that hairy, not near as hairy as James's.
It's not true.
At Serve, I wore flip-flops one day, and it became a thing at Serve this year, and maybe it just is like a teen thing right now, but they say, who let the dogs out?
Let the dogs
Talking
out.
about your toes. And they say, put your dogs back up. And it led to this debate. Here's the debate.
Okay.
For men, if you're a woman out there, do you prefer men in chacos or men in flip-flops? And we got into it. For like a long time.
And that's actually a pretty good little segue.
It is.
Because you, at the moment, are single.
Yeah. Why are we bringing up the Valentine's Day? Bro, this is not a plug.
You asked a question. You said
this is not The Bachelor.
Prefer men in chacos or in flip-flops.
I'm not taking notes right now.
I think you should be, though. That's what I'm saying. Like if get so that's the question for Sam. Should Sam wear chacos or flip-flops? If Sam wants a girlfriend one day, should Sam wear chacos or flip-flops?
I did not know that we were going to take this turn.
You set it up, bro.
The conversation. I know. I asked for it. The conversation that we were having at Serve started with, I think it was Caroline or Sarah saying, Sam, your feet are like way too clean. And I was like, do you not appreciate the fact that I use soap on my feet in the shower?
That's funny.
They smell good and they look good, but they're too clean? I was like, no. We had this conversation for a day. And then I started wearing my Crocs that I've had since like ninth grade. They're camo. Yeah. They barely have any sole on them. And then that just like opened up a whole new level of criticism. Anyway, so Crocs, chocks, or flip-flops.
Crocs, chocks, or flip-flops.
What's your take, ladies? I need some help. I need some help.
Help Sam get a girlfriend.
Please don't. I really don't. I don't need your help.
Shout out. Hey, and that's what. Maybe here's a segue, men. If you're listening today, tomorrow is Valentine's Day.
This is so cringy.
Make a reservation.
Yeah,
get some flowers.
Go to Oscars, man.
Go to Oscars. Shout out to Oscars. Oscars hadn't sponsored us yet, but if they wanted to, I'd take some food.
I like some shrimp and grits from Oscars.
I don't even know if I could say things like that, but I just did.
We did,
all right,
bro.
So Valentine's Day tomorrow.
We just said a whole lot of stuff that I did not think we were going to talk about.
Yeah, so,
we made a plan before this, and like none of that covered it.
It's a guide. Maybe. It's
okay.
Like we have some topics like, hey, there's some stuff going on in the world. Maybe we should talk about some
Men's Guide to Hairy Feet 101.
This was not on the guide.
I'm going to keep bringing that up because that's today, like the only thing on my mind.
This podcast is airing or dropping Monday, February 13th.
Day before Valentine's.
Day before Valentine's Day, the day after the Super Bowl. We're recording this podcast on Tuesday, February 7th.
Yeah.
So before the Super Bowl, a week before Valentine's Day, let's make a Super Bowl prediction.
Are we in the future then?
This is weird, isn't it? This is it's kind of strange to think about. But we don't have time to talk about that. That's not future. That's a conversation for sometime else. All right.
And also, does tomorrow ever become today?
Who is playing in the Super Bowl? Do you know?
The Eagles and the Chiefs. The
Eagles and the
Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs.
There you go. So Joe Burrows and his team didn't make the Super Bowl.
No.
Unfortunately.
Old Joey didn't make it.
Joey P.
Come back next year, baby.
Eagles and Chiefs, they did. It's the Kelsey Bowl. You know, you got Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey facing off. First time brothers have played in the Super Bowl against one another ever. So that's kind of cool.
Pretty cool.
There's some, you also have two black starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl facing off against each other. Jalen Hurts and Pat Mahomes. That's pretty cool. There's a lot of firsts in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, dude.
But here's the question that I have. Do you have a prediction, first off, of who's going to win?
I think Jalen Hurts, man, and the Eagles.
Eagles are going to win. Okay.
They're rolling,
Give
bro.
Give me the score.
They're rolling. I think it'll be a shootout. I say we'll go Philadelphia 38. We'll go Philadelphia 38 and Kansas City. We'll go 38-35.
38-35. I'm going to go 45-41. Eagles win.
Okay.
35-41. 45-41. Eagles win.
So we'll come back to this. I said 38-35, and you said who? You said what?
45-41.
45-41.
But here's the real thing that I was interested to hear your thoughts on. So there was a leaked photo showing the score and the script of the game, how the game's going to go. And it had the Eagles winning. I think it was like 37-35, something like that.
Oh, you for real?
And it sparked all of this conversation. Is the NFL scripted? You know, because there was some calls in the Chiefs. Was it who the Chiefs play in the divisional round?
In the divisional round?
Was it the Chiefs and Jaguars? It wasn't the Jaguars.
The Chiefs beat the Jags.
Yeah, but it was Chiefs and it was the Chiefs and the Bengals. You know, there were some calls.
Was that 2 weeks ago? Or was that?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. There were some calls in that game that it was the people everybody on Twitter was like, "Oh, the NFL's rigged. The NFL's scripted. You know, they're just trying to get the Chiefs." So and then you have this leaked photo. And I mean, I know Photoshop, you can fake anything, but is the NFL scripted?
I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, but I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past them. I don't think it is. I don't know how you could
There's no way.
I don't think you could convincingly play a 48-minute football game and like script it perfectly.
Yeah, there's no way.
Unless, you know, they're putting millions down on the table
if
for
the
him.
NFL scripted,
that would be wild.
Tom Brady got the greatest script of all time.
Yeah, he made it. He made
He
it.
got to play for 20-something years and just signed a 10-year, $375 million deal.
It's like the most beautifully executed story arc of all time.
Yeah, right.
Like, don't even give any credit to Marvel anymore because the NFL just took over.
It's the NFL.
The rhetoric is beautiful. I don't think it's scripted. There's no way. The rhetoric, author's intention, overall goal.
Rhetoric.
Have you ever done like a rhetorical analysis of a paper?
Define rhetoric.
Rhetoric?
Yeah.
I would kind of just say like the author's meaning, intention.
Okay. The art of effective or persuasive speaking and writing, especially the use of figures of speech and other. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm right.
Sometimes you say things. I'm like, I don't know if you know what that means.
I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to some English stuff.
We've talked Super Bowl. We've talked Valentine's. We just wrapped up the Mountain Experience.
We like hinted at Valentine's.
What about the Mountain Experience? You know, we took about 120 from Summerville, joined up with 4 other churches from around the state, went to Look Up Lodge for a weekend, saw God do some pretty cool things. We had, I want to say, 3 salvations, 2 from our church, and then 2 more from our church that are ready to take the next step of faith in baptism. And that's just what we heard about. Some great small group conversations. What'd you think? Give me your Mountain Experience recap real fast.
Recap. I could talk for a long time about it. I think where I get peace from is just the hope that we planted some seeds that people either recognize now and they appreciate now, or they will one day come in contact with and appreciate then. So
yeah.
I don't know. I used to be like, oh, dang, it felt so great. The environment was sick. People were jumping and singing and playing.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Y'all, you and your worship team, man, did a phenomenal job. Y'all did a great job leading the room. It was powerful.
It's easy to work with people who are passionate about Jesus.
Yeah. It's great. A great team. Great team. And I'm gonna give y'all a shout out here. There is on Spotify and Apple Music. There are a couple of EPs from the Mountain Experience Collective, which is the group that leads worship. Has been leading now for 3 or 4 years.
This is year 4, I think.
This is year 4. We didn't do one this year, but in the past, I had some guys and some ladies sit down and write some songs specifically for the Mountain Experience, and we've recorded those, and so you can find those and get a glimpse of what the Mountain Experience is like. So just search on Spotify or Apple Music the Mountain Experience Collective, and I think you'll be encouraged. It's good stuff there.
Yeah, and this weekend in particular was neat because the speakers, the music, everything was geared toward the fact that if you're a follower of Christ, you're a part of an unshakable kingdom.
That's great.
And I think it was cool for the students and the adults and all of us who were involved to kind of just hopefully catch 1 or 2 nuggets that, hey, we can love people better every day. We can have a kingdom mindset, knowing, hey, every interaction matters.
Yeah.
For the name of Jesus.
Hebrews 12:28, therefore let us be grateful for receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken.
Amen.
And thus let us offer to God acceptable worship with reverence and awe, for our God's a consuming fire.
Yeah.
I love that. And I did not just quote that from memory. I just pulled it up on my computer.
Yeah.
If you're listening, like, oh, James knows the Bible. No, I cheated. I Googled. But anyway, that's great theme. So, hey, what is, if there was one nugget from the weekend that you pulled, what was it?
Yeah. Press on. Press on. 2 words, super simple, like press on.
Yeah.
There's, I loved what Seth Buckley said that last morning. He said there's like quitting's not an option.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't quit on us. There's not an option to quit. So what do? You press on.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Identify the goal and keep your eyes on it.
That's good. Good word. Good
That's
word.
it. Press on.
Good stuff. Good
What about
stuff.
you? What would you say the takeaway? One of your nuggets was?
Can I give 2?
Sure.
One, I thought Jody Jennings' message on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
His encouragement to seek first.
Yeah.
That idea of making this unshakable kingdom the priority.
Yeah.
The focus, the goal. I thought that was it's such a simple statement from Jesus in Matthew. I think it's Matthew. Is it Matthew 5? Matthew 6?
I think he was in
Somewhere
6.
But that statement.
Sermon
Jesus,
on the Mount.
Yeah, Sermon on the Mount. Don't be anxious about anything. The flowers of the field, they're clothed beautifully. Birds of the air have plenty to eat. Father in heaven knows what you need. Seek first the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
That phrase, seek first, was really, really impactful. And because in ministry, in the world, whatever world you're in, there's so much that pulls at our attention, so much that competes for our direction, our affection, if you want to term it like that. But that idea, that we're created ultimately to seek first, and then. The second big thing for me, Dr. John Adams.
Can I pause you real quick?
Go.
I want to ask a question real quick.
Okay.
Did you hear what Jody? I think he finished his illustration. I was really hoping he would take it a little further. He was talking about piling up your worries on the altar, and he said that if we all. Everybody in the room, there's 200 something people in the room. If we all piled our worries up at the altar, there would be a massive amount of worries that were there. And my question was that I've been thinking about is if I piled up my worship beside my worries, would it be much smaller? Would it be bigger?
Yeah.
How would my worship pile up against my pile of worries? And I was kind of hoping that he might go there, but maybe we can go there sometime in a podcast, and just talk about, man, what if a room full of 200 something people equated the size of worries into worship, or shifted, I think I have a note in my Bible somewhere, maybe at the end of Philippians or something. Whatever's good, honorable, just, pure. Is that Philippians? Think on these things.
Yeah.
Turn your worry into worship. I was just wondering, man, how powerful would it be? Not that we pile up a thing of worries, but what if we replace that with worship? Just a shift of perspective, you know?
That's a man, a great a great question, a great challenge, I think.
I mean, my
Just
gosh.
looking at my life, I mean, I know,
Dude,
I think my worries are probably bigger than my worship most of the time.
it goes back to that priorities thing. That's
Yeah.
that's what we're going to talk about today, a little discipline.
I'm not even sure we're going to get there. I think your question that you just launched might have given me a whole nother train of thought here.
Well, let's let's dig into it a little bit. You want to?
Yeah, we can. Let me give my other takeaway real fast.
Sure.
We'll jump back to
Okay.
that idea.
Sorry for kind of
no.
derailing that.
That's a great question, and I think that's a
It just convicted me a lot.
that's incredibly thought provoking. You know, so my other takeaway, and it goes right in line with what you're saying there.
Okay.
My other takeaway was from John Adams on Saturday night. You know, he's talking about he was talking also about giving the first part of your day to God.
Yep.
And John's been in ministry for a long time, been a senior pastor at the same church for a long time, just an incredible man, loves people. John was not, he's a friend of our family, has been for a long time, has never been my pastor, your pastor, our pastor, but when Dad's been in the hospital a few times,
He's been our pastor.
John's been there, you know. I remember there was a Sunday, like, I don't know, probably 12:30 or something, you know, shortly after, like, just Sunday morning Baptist church hour, and John Adams shows up at the hospital just to check on Dad. I don't remember if you were there or not at that point in time, but that's the kind of guy he is. And he made the point, and I thought it was brilliant, that, you know, especially in the ministry world, sometimes we get so busy doing things for God that we neglect to spend time with God. And so he was talking about, you know, giving. You know, he said, hey, being Martha is great. You know, doing things, you know, serving, like accomplishing the task list on behalf of God is great. But if we forget to be Mary and just spend time sitting at Jesus's feet, we've missed the point of why we're doing what we're doing. You know, I think about Jesus's words to Mary and Martha. You know, Mary's chosen the good portion that can't be taken away, and so that question of, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is it from a place of awe and gratitude towards God for receiving this kingdom that cannot be shaken? Is what we do a response to what God has done, or are we trying to, I don't know, in some way, like, earn God's favor, earn God's attention, you know, feel like, you know, we're doing enough to, like, deserve His love, or are we living from a place of, relationship, or are we living from a place of, you know, I've got to check the boxes to make God proud, if you will?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I wish that I was like, this is what I do to make sure that I'm living in a perfect relationship, rather than, like, almost like a dutiful, task-oriented kind of interaction. I'm going to do this and you purify me. That was definitely a way of living for a long time. Yeah. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, because I used to run from accountability partners. I'm being honest with you about it. Because one, I thought it was really weird because I didn't hear the word, who's your accountability partner? I didn't hear that until I went to college at North Greenville. Right. And it just weirded me out. Just being honest with you. It just weirded me out because I didn't know what that meant. And then when I first
you must have had a bad youth minister when you were in high school.
A bad youth minister?
Oh, wait, that was me. I'm just kidding. Sorry, keep going.
I just didn't know what, like, that language meant.
Right.
And how it looked for some people was like this. All right, we're going to come to a table kind of like this. You're going to have your coffee, and I'm going to have my coffee, and then for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to ask you every way you messed up over the last week, and then I want you to reciprocate that transparency and tell me every way you messed up over the last week, and then we're going to be like, okay, this is what we're going to do next week to not do this, and we left out grace from the conversation. We forgot about the gospel in the conversation, and so I just kind of got like, I don't know if this is it, because I found myself like trying to like grind it out or like rep it out more, and you know what I'm saying, work harder, think more, avoid the Bible, and just kind of focus more on like gritting my teeth and oh man, temptation. I know I'm weak, but messed up.
I can't. That's a great question, you know, because I think sometimes the idea of an accountability partner serves to function almost as like a confessional type thing. Like, let me confess what I've struggled with, messed up, and then the draw to change becomes, I don't want to have to confess A, B, C, or D to my accountability partner. Therefore, I can't do A, B, C, or D. And so in that, if that's the way the relationship is functioning, I'm not sure that in the long term it's actually helpful, because the motivation to not sin or the motivation to not struggle with whatever is, I don't want to have to confess this to my accountability partner, which might work for a little while, but that's putting a lot of strain on human willpower. You know, and willpower only goes so far. I don't care how disciplined or mentally strong you are, how well disciplined you are. We only have so much capacity in us to stop doing what we don't want to do and do what we want to do. You know, like, we only have so much capacity in us, and you know, I think from my perspective, a more helpful way to view accountability partners is, you know, we all need people to come alongside us and encourage us to follow Jesus.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, if all of our focus is, you know, here's the list of things I can't do, and so I'm gonna think about not doing those things. I'm gonna think about not, you know, whatever the struggle is in your life, I'm going to think really hard and try really hard not to do that. Well, the more you think about trying not to do whatever it is, what are you thinking about? You're thinking about the sin. You're thinking about the temptation. You're dwelling on that.
Yep.
And the struggle becomes, you know, I'm constantly thinking about what I don't want to do. What we need to do is replace a lesser desire with a greater desire. You know what I mean? So rather than thinking so much about here's what I don't want to do, the question we should be asking is, well, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
You know, how do I offer to God acceptable worship? How do I focus my attention and my affections on Jesus? And this is, for me personally, this is what has been helpful in my life. The question has to become, how do I focus more on Christ?
Amen.
Because then if I'm thinking more about Jesus, I'm naturally thinking less about me, and I'm naturally thinking less about what I want. I'm naturally thinking less about what my desires are. A practical example. You know, sometimes, you know, I get home from work, and you know, if it's been a long day or been in meetings all day, you know, like sometimes I walk in the door and it's like my patience is like thin, and I've got two boys at home and they are loud and wild, and it's easy for me to step into that environment. And if I'm trying like not to be impatient with them, or trying not to not to overreact to, because they're just excited that I'm home, and sometimes their excitement, I mean, you know Noah and Judah, sometimes their excitement is it's just like they're just crazy.
Oh yeah, they're crazy,
and they're so much fun, and but they can be a handful.
We had a dance party last night.
They can be a handful because they get so excited, it's like they're just out of control.
Right.
And if I'm not careful, I can focus so much on, I don't want to be impatient, I don't want to get upset, I don't want to be frustrated with them because I've been frustrated with my day, or whatever it is, you know. And if I'm focused on not being impatient or not being frustrated, I find myself getting frustrated and impatient.
Yeah.
If I take a moment before I go in my house in the afternoon to go, you know, what a gift family is. I want to be a present father. I want to love my wife and my kids well. You know, I find myself, you know, by focusing on what is good, focusing on what is pure, what is, you know, the list that you mentioned earlier. I think it might be Colossians, actually, wherever it is.
Yeah.
But that's why the authors of the New Testament, you know, Paul says, you know, that we're transformed by the renewing of our mind.
Dude.
We're not transformed by the fixation on all the stuff that we struggle with, we're transformed as our mind is renewed and we learn to focus our thoughts, our attention on Christ. So that's a long answer to your question, but I think that ultimately the goal in those accountability relationships is to focus less on where we fall short and focus more on how do we cultivate the love of Jesus in our lives. And I'm not saying again, I think one way to hear what I'm saying would be, well, James is like not serious about sin or struggle, and that's not it at all.
No, that's not what you're saying.
What I'm saying is that the grace of God is sufficient for our weakness.
Yeah.
And if we focus more on our sin than we do on God's grace, we're going to stay stuck in our sin. But if we can magnify the grace of God and focus more on the fact that we are loved by God, called by God, forgiven in God, and that is the power by which we overcome the sin in our lives, not by focusing on where we fall short and our lack of capacity to do better. Let's focus on the grace of God that actually is the power to transform us. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm going to try to put it into some other words that might help as well.
Yeah.
Before Jesus, Scripture talks about us being slaves to sin.
Yep.
After Jesus being our Savior, we're now slaves to righteousness.
Yep.
So we come back to righteousness when we fall. And
That's
this, in my personal life, somebody said this one time, and it blew my mind. I know that's pretty dramatic, but it actually did. It really blew my mind. Said that we're oftentimes as Christians the ones that are keeping the sin alive.
Wow.
Because we keep bringing it up in our prayers. We keep giving a whole lot of weight to it. We keep letting it consume our minds. We put our vocabulary on it instead of putting God's vocabulary on it.
So here's a question. Is it possible that sometimes we focus and remember our sin, we focus on and remember our sin even more than God does?
I assure you of the fact that, he says it.
2
When he looks
Corinthians
at us,
5.
God's love was perfected in us.
Yeah. In
Perfect
Christ,
love
the old
casts
has
out
gone,
fear.
the new has come. He made him to be sin who knew no sin so that in him we could become the righteousness of God in Christ.
Man.
That's it. What if we learn to see ourselves the way that God sees us? Man, all of us, I feel like if that's our focus, what God has done for us in Christ and what that means for our lives, it's the old turn your eyes upon Jesus song.
Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Yeah.
Sing it.
Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace.
There you go. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's good news. Galatians 2:20. What does it say there? That's some pretty incredible vocabulary. That we were crucified with Christ.
Yep.
Meaning, hey, done, boy. It's over.
You just want Cy Roberts in there.
Hey, talking about, hey, boy.
Hey.
Jack.
I've been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. The life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and who gave himself up for me. I do not nullify the grace of God. For if righteousness were through the law, then Christ died for no purpose. So,
you know what's keeping you from living sometimes for Jesus?
Tell us.
Yourself.
There you go.
Bro, me, myself, my mind.
Yeah.
It's when we talked about it last week, the social media and all that.
That's it.
Kill it.
Well, hey, I think that's probably good for the day.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it there. And that's what a great challenge. What a great challenge. Let's remember grace. Remember that God loved us and he gave Christ to give himself up for us so that we could, number one, see how much we need God's grace. See the lengths that God went to buy us back from our sin and our brokenness, but then also so that we could realize that the same grace that saves us is the grace that transforms us. And if we're going to make it in this life, if we're going to overcome flip-flops and hairy feet and all the other stuff that life throws our way, we all need the grace of God.
And let me make it really clear that I'm a big supporter of accountability.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I need it.
Yeah.
You need it. We all need it, but we need accountability to operate within the frameworks of a grace-filled gospel.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Second that. Well, hey, thanks so much for listening to the Lawson Brothers podcast. Hope you were encouraged, built up in your faith. As we said at the beginning, like this, share it, rate it, review it. If you've got questions or comments, or if the conversation today is sparking anything in your life, we would love to hear from you. You can email us, reach out via the Summerville Baptist website. But we'll be back next Monday with a new episode.
Yeah, if there's anything we know, it's that we don't know anything.
There you go.
And what kind of day we want to wish them, Jimmy?
Have a great Blue Flame Day.
Love y'all.
M is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore can love. Is all that I can give to you. Oh, love is more than just a gift or two. Your love can make it, break my heart, but please don't break it. Love was made for me, yeah.